What up, everyone? Back for another episode of my YouTube video series that I started last semester here at college with my free time on me. I'm going to dive into the St. John's game tonight versus Providence and, what I think attributed to the loss and what it means going forward. Before I do, though, shout out to my North Carolina Tar Heels who won at Cameron Indoor, beat Duke in the Tobacco Road Showdown, and Duke was number one, so that just adds greatness and a great feeling to it for me. So it kind of balances out the fact that St. John's got their rear ends kicked tonight a little bit. So that's definitely good. I'm just going to go through my points here that I think are the reason why we lost tonight. There's obviously things to point out, but I do want to say in general that the overriding factor is we got our asses kicked. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it. And, every basketball team gets a game like that or two throughout a season, unless, you're like the Kentucky did a couple of years ago and you just go undefeated, or, you're Gonzaga and you do that. Every team normally is going to get a game where they get their asses kicked and they don't play well. Unfortunately for St. John's, it seems to have. And now listen, I knew we were going to have it happen when we played Duke at Cameron Indoor because Duke is so much better than us and they're much bigger. But it's happened a couple too many times now in conference play to the point where we are becoming probably the most inconsistent team in college basketball. And it's really creating problems because we have 3 great wins this season against Marquette and Villanova. But then on the downside of that, we have 2 losses now to Providence, who is a bottom feeder in the Big East overall. It won't make the tournament. And it's kind of putting us on the bubble because our non-conference outside of Duke is mostly crappy. I mean, VCU is okay. Georgia Tech is they might make the NIT, but everyone else on our thing is pretty crappy. I mean, Princeton, NEC, conference, we played a bunch of teams. UMass, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. So we're on the bubble. I think as of the moment, though, we're still like a 10 seed. Maybe at worst, we're like an 11 seed that has to play in that first 4. But I think we're still in the tournament as of right now, but we don't have a big margin of error left. Our last 4 games include Seton Hall at the Garden, Xavier at home, and then DePaul and Xavier on the road. I definitely think we should be able to win all 4 of them. I wouldn't say I'm confident we will win all 4, but I think we can win all 4 of them. And, we win all 4, win the first game in the Big East tournament, which would probably be against a Creighton or Providence or maybe an Xavier DePaul. I think we're in. Because at that point then we have, I think, 24 wins and, 9 losses maybe. So 24-9, I think that gets us into the tournament. If we get double-digit losses, I will say this, we will be on the bubble. And I would not be surprised if we did not get in. We're at 8 losses right now. If we get to 10 losses, 11 losses, don't be surprised if we don't make it. That's all I'm going to say because it's just too inconsistent. And, the tourney wants consistency, and that's one of the things. Our NET rating might be decent, and we might have, 5, 6 quad 1 wins, but, you just can't be losing and expect to make the tournament, especially when all your losses are coming in the conference. But enough of where I think we stand. I'll go into my points real quick of why I think we lost this game. First one, very simple. Shamori Pons, our leading scorer on the team. He's 2nd or 3rd in the Big East in scoring. Put up a big old goose egg tonight in the first half. Not overall for the game. I believe he scored in the second half. I honestly got to turn the game off after the 12-man mark in the second half because of how bad we were getting beat. But he put up 0 points in the first half. Your leading scorer cannot afford to do that. And now, I don't know what's wrong with him, but the last 3 games, which have been Providence, Villanova, and Providence, he has played awful. And by awful, I mean he's been shooting horrible. He can't make shots. He's missing some layups. He's missing threes. He was our best three-point shooter, and now he can't make anything. So I don't know what's wrong with the kid. I hope he figures it out soon because he's extremely talented. He's from New York. I want him to succeed. I think, he can be a potential late first round, maybe second round pick in the NBA draft, but he won't be if he doesn't get his act together now because it's just unexplainable. I don't know what the heck he is physically doing that is allowing him to not score his average. He just isn't able to do it. In the Villanova game, he shot awful. If it wasn't for LJ and Heron bailing us out, we easily would have lost that game on the comeback because Shamori didn't do anything in terms of scoring. Yes, he scored, but let's be honest, he wasn't dazzling. Next out, I want to point out, Heron, we mentioned, didn't play in the first game, and we said, okay, that's probably why we lost. Well, he played tonight, and turns out that wasn't a factor at all. He wasn't the X factor for the game. So Providence just does something very well against us and against Mullen. So Heron was definitely not a factor tonight. Next, our defense, second half, garbage. In the first half, we held Providence to 34 points, which isn't bad. That really is not bad. Okay? They shot almost as poorly as we did, which is amazing. But then in the second half, they scored well over 34 points. And I believe they had 34 points through 11 minutes, 12 minutes in the second half. So they almost doubled what they scored a little over halfway through the second half, which is just inexcusable. And I'll get to some of how they got their points a little later, but at the end of the day, you have to be able to play defense. And it leads right into my next point. You have to play defense without fouling. Fouls were an extremely crucial part of this game. Now, I think there's some that are ticky-tacky there that got called on us, and it happens, okay? That it happens, but yes, do I think everything we did was a foul? No. But at the same time, you can't be, fouling on defense all the time. You have to be playing a little bit better than that. And it just seemed tonight like we fouled so much on defense, on the floor, or when they're taking shots, or anything. If my notes are correct, we had 7 fouls before 6 minutes passed in the second half. And we had 9 fouls before 8 minutes passed in the second half. Just let that sink in. 7 before 6 minutes passes and 9 before 8 minutes passes. That's inexcusable. All right? I don't care how bad the refs are and how they can't make calls and whatnot, but you just can't be fouling that much. That's actually horrible. Which leads into my next point, again, about the fouls and whatnot, is Clark. I've had Marvin in class from multiple classes, being a sport management major. He's a great guy. I've met him. He's extremely friendly and whatnot. I can go the whole 8 Mile on him about how great of a man he is and how great of a guy he is, okay? And they mentioned this on the broadcast tonight, so I'm just kind of repeating what they said. His biggest problem is he gets in so much foul trouble. Tonight was the 8th time this year he has fouled out of a game. We're 19-8. That's 27 games. He's basically fouling out once every three games almost, which is just not good. You can't be doing that. I think Marvin is one of our top 3-4 players, and he's deserving of being in the starting lineup. He's definitely one of our top 3 scorers, I would say, like overall. Maybe not in points per game, but in terms of creating shots and getting open and being able to hit threes and whatnot, he's that good. And he can't be getting in so much foul trouble all the time. It's ultimately going to hurt us because we don't have anyone really that can replace him in his value and what he does. And now he picked up 2 quick, cheap fouls in the second half, which is what you can't do, which is attributed to why we got so many fouls early on in the second half, because if you want to, 4 of those fouls of the 6, or what was it? Excuse me, 7 before 6 minutes and the 9 fouls before 8 minutes. 4 of them are attributed to Marvin. Okay, and 2 of them were technicals. He actually got ejected while he was on the bench. His 5th foul was a technical. And listen, the 3rd one is a ticky-tacky foul, but the refs are going to call it on defense. The 4th one, I feel like he did a frustration foul, which you cannot do. So now he's going to go to the bench and sit for, probably 10 minutes of game time before he gets brought back in. And he barked to the ref. I think the refs had a short leash tonight, though. I do want to point that out. Quick trigger is what I mean. They're going to call fouls right away, and especially with the technicals. Mullen didn't even know Marvin got teed up the one time. He was coaching the team like he's supposed to, and a whistle blows, and they're walking over calling a foul on the bench, and he goes, Who? And then they say it's Marvin, and he just goes, well, what do you do? And Mullen literally did this, which is just like he can't believe what his players are doing. Marvin had 2 technicals. Okay, so his 5th one then was barking to the ref as he was walking over to the bench. That was the 5th one. He's out. And then the 6th one was while he was on the bench after we made a dunk. Keep in mind, we're down by 20 at this point almost, it seems. And he made a comment to the ref as the ref is walking by. Ref does this, points at Marvin. Marvin has to leave. There's 2 more free throws for them and possession of the ball for Providence. So he's just got to figure out a way to play great defense without getting these cheap and ticky-tacky fouls. And he'll be fine, And picking up fouls leads to free throws, which I want to point out also. At the 12 minutes and 8 seconds left in the second half mark. So, again, not even 8 minutes into the second half. Providence had attempted 27 free throws. 27! Now, I don't recall what the final number was, but I gotta imagine it was close to 40. If they're shooting 27 free throws through just over 27 minutes of play, that's bad. That's really, really bad. And that attributes to the fouls that we're making. Now, again, I understand that some of them are probably ticky-tacky, probably shouldn't have been called. But at the same time, you can't put yourself in a position to do that. I actually think we committed some fouls during that stretch that the refs didn't call because they said, this game will never end and we'll never get out of here. So, just can't let them get to the foul line that much. And we were only at the foul line 9 times. We only took 9 free throws over that same stretch of time through the first 26 minutes and 52 seconds of the game. So basically for every 3 shots they were getting, we were getting 1 at the foul line, which is actually horrible. It needs to be closer. So again, if we don't have those 2 technicals, that's 4 less free throws. And we definitely went over 10 fouls, I believe, in the first half. So we were just putting them at the line too much. Now, I don't have the exact numbers up on me since I have the conference standings up here right now. But the final score was, I believe, 79-58. Providence won, so we lost by 21. I'd be willing to bet you that Providence had at least 35 points at the foul line. Because at that time that they had 27 free throws attempted, they had 21. There's the difference of the game right there. We lost by 21. Providence had 21 free throws through that stretch. So, Providence won this game essentially at the foul line from us fouling so much is another big take I have from this game in general. But again, like I said at the beginning, we straight up didn't come ready to play. We got our rear ends kicked. So I put some of that on Mullen, which is obviously going to be what happens because he's a head coach. But I think it's on the players, The players have to come out ready to play, It is a coach's job kind of to motivate in a sense. But at the same time, if you're a player and you have a big-time game and you can't be having too many errors in your win-loss column when it comes to a tournament, how can you, expect to be coming out and lay an egg like this? It's inexcusable. I'm just going to have to leave it at that because these guys got to come out ready. All right, their next game is Seton Hall at the Garden Saturday night, 8 o'clock, prime time at the world's most famous arena. It'll probably be a sellout like the Villanova game was this past Sunday night. They got to come out ready to play. They got to be able to shoot the ball well, make their layups. That was another thing tonight with regards to our shooting. Okay, we shot horrible. We couldn't make any layups, it seemed. At one point in the during the broadcast when I was listening to it, the guy that does the commentary said Mullen has to be thinking to himself, what can I do to buy a layup at this point? Because we were missing everything around the rim. And if you look at the box score tonight for my North Carolina Tar Heels, they put up 88 points on Duke, 62 of which were in the paint layups. And I think Luke May had like 24 of them. And Cameron Johnson had like 18 of them. You know, they were getting the job done in the paint. Now, I understand we're not that big. Okay, Keita's our biggest guy, and he's 6'9", and he's not exactly built the biggest. I think Clark is actually built a little bit bigger than him. But we got to be able to finish around the rim, and we have to make layups. You know, you can't be shooting 60% around the rim. You got to be shooting like 85, 90% around the rim if you want to win games. So, come out ready to play, be fired up, make your shots, make shots around the rim, make your threes because you're actually good at making threes. Stop fouling so much. Keep your tempers under control. Everyone at St. John's is going to be fired up for the game because it's against Seton Hall, who's in Jersey. They're a rival. Everyone's going to be there. I'll be there. My family's actually coming out for the first time in 4 years to see a St. John's basketball game. So shout out to my dad for getting everyone to come together finally. And let's go win these last 4 games. I think we can definitely do it, but we'll see where we go. Again, I think we're probably a 10 seed at the moment. If we lose 2 more games and get to double-digit losses, we're going to be on the bubble extremely, and I don't think we make the tournament. I think we're definitely going to make the NIT at the worst because we're going to have 20 wins at least, which is going to be pretty darn good. So, but that's just my immediate reaction to the game tonight, guys. I'll be doing more videos again soon as more college basketball begins to take fold. Might do one giving my predictions of the big conference winners for the conference tournaments. New Jersey wrestling is heating up, so once regions conclude this weekend, I'll probably do one giving my picks for who I think is going to take home the podium and get first in all the weight classes at AC. And we'll see where else is coming along. And I'll have some more guests on soon as baseball season is approaching. The Masters are coming up with golf and other events come around. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys soon.